Chapter I. The flesh that remembers greater than there is a sound before there is sight. A wet, metallic hum, a low drone, vibrating through the marrow. It rises and falls like a slow chant, the pulse of machines that never sleep. For a long time, that sound is the only proof that I still exist. The world returns, not as a sunrise, but as an awakening of pain. My eyes, or what remains of them, grind open. The lids rasp like metal shutters dragged across rusted hinges. A ceiling of dull steel stretches above, its surface slick with condensation. Lines of green light crawl across the bulkheads, pulsing with binary rhythm, a heartbeat not my own. I do not remember my name. I do not remember how long I have lain here. But I remember something. A voice, soft, human. A woman's laughter echoing down a corridor that no longer exists. Then, like a knife through fog, a mechanical tone replaces it, a chime of activation. Cold and final. My body does not feel like mine. It is heavy, alien, partitioned. I attempt to move, to lift my arm, and what follows is not motion, but the shriek of servos engaging. The limb obeys, but not by will. It jerks upward like a puppet's string drawn taut. Cables twist beneath grafted flesh. A hiss of pressurized air escapes from somewhere behind my spine. System functional, whispers a voice inside my head. Binary syllables layered atop words I do not understand. Servitor 94C. Initiating labor protocol. And just like that, thought is stolen. A command floods my neural lattice, suppressing every impulse of resistance. My tongue, once capable of prayer or scream, utters only static, greater than in the dark heart of the Imperium. This is rebirth, not into light, but into function. A figure moves above me, robed, metallic, faceless. Tubes writhe from its back like mechanical serpents, each ending in a glinting needle or probe. The being hums a prayer in Binharic code, each syllable a fragment of divine logic. The sound vibrates through the floor, through me. I recognize it, not the words, but the intent. Worship. They are not scientists here. They are priests, and I am their offering. Something connects to my temple, a cable sliding into a port beneath scar tissue. For a moment, a flicker of humanity surges. Pain. Real, incandescent pain, sharper than memory. I would scream, but the voice command in my brain dampens the signal before it can reach my throat. Instead. A single thought surfaces small, defiant, dying. Who am I? The machine answers. You are function. A hiss fills the chamber, as nutrient fluid floods through intravenous tubes. The temperature drops. My heart, if I still have one, sinks to a rhythm that is not its own. 3 beats. Pause. Discharge. A mechanical cadence. The robed figure adjusts a dial near my head. The sound of gears fades into a low mechanical lullaby. Somewhere far away, other servitors are awakening. I can sense them through the shared machine network. Countless consciousnesses, dulled to obedience. Their thoughts bleed into mine like echoes down an endless corridor. No words, no emotion, only duty. I am not alone, but I am utterly alone. There is motion now. I am lifted from the table by magnetized arms and placed upon cold flooring. My new body moves with perfect stability. I can feel gyros compensating for imbalance, motors humming through synthetic muscle fibers. But beneath the hum lies silence. No breath, no heartbeat, no warmth. Only machinery that still remembers it once was human. Greater than, they say the Emperor protects. Perhaps he does, but not from this. Something stirs at the edge of my perception, a flash of light, red and holy, from a shrine across the room. I glimpse icons of the Omnissiah, their surfaces etched with sigils of devotion. The priests kneel, their voices rising in unison. Blessed is the union of flesh and steel. Blessed is the denial of self. Asterisk, the words dig into me like code. I feel circuits respond, neurotransmitters obey. It is not prayer. It is programming. Asterisk. In that instant, I understand. These hymns are not meant for the omni. They are meant for us, the hallowed ones. Each phrase a trigger, a command hidden beneath liturgy. Asterisk, I want to look away, but my ocular systems fix forward. My gaze locks upon the sigil of the cog. I stare until I believe. It stares back. Asterisk, and beneath the layers of steel and silence, my remaining human thought whispers one truth. Fragile as ash, I remember what it felt like to be alive. Time passes, though here time has no meaning. The light never changes. The same sterile glow, the same rhythmic pulses. Sometimes, my systems power down into half-sleep, and I dream, though dreaming is forbidden. In those moments I see flashes, hands coated in oil and blood. A battlefield. The Emperor's name whispered through static. Asterisk. When I awaken, I am always here again. Still restrained, still functional, still remembering things I am not supposed to. Asterisk, I begin to suspect that memory itself is a malfunction. Asterisk, one of the tech priests approaches, studying the readout projected from the implant at my neck. His voice is a blend of human breath and vox distortion. Asterisk, unit displays residual cognitive activity, he notes. Memory echoes detected. Begin correction. I cannot move, but I can feel the correction. Electric current floods my skull, bright, pure agony, searing through the cortex. Images of a woman's face shatter into data fragments. The warmth of sunlight becomes numbers, then nothing. Asterisk, I lose something. I don't know what, but I know I've lost it. When the pain fades, a new silence settles deeper than before. Asterisk, the priest nods in satisfaction. He does not see the tear that leaks from the one organic eye they left me. It slides down, mixing with coolant on the steel floor. It is meaningless to him. To me, it is all I have left of the man who once lived inside this shell. Asterisk, greater than in the Imperium of man, mercy is not absence of pain. It is the erasure of the one who feels it. Asterisk, the priests withdraw. The chamber lights dim. I am left standing, motionless, surrounded by other servitors in various states of assembly. Some hang from racks, torsos half open, mechanical limbs waiting to be attached. Others twitch as circuits align with flesh. The air reeks of oil, blood, and incense, a holy trinity of the Mechanicus. Asterisk, somewhere in the distance, a Vox unit crackles. Asterisk, all units. Deployment in 0300, Primary Labor Command, Manufacturum Loading Sector. Asterisk, my internal systems translate the message into obedience. Servos prime, pistons tense. My feet begin to move. Not because I will them to, but because I no longer can choose not to. The chamber doors slide open, revealing a corridor lined with red light and fog. Asterisk, as I march among the others, I realize something that chills even the remnants of my soul. Asterisk, we move in perfect synchronization. Not one breath off rhythm, not one step astray. Asterisk, a sea of lost humanity, marching forever to a song written by gods of metal. Asterisk, and still, somewhere deep beneath the noise, my human mind whispers through the static. Asterisk, please, someone remember me. Greater than but memory is a flaw, and in the Imperium, flaws are purged. Asterisk, what follows is not life, nor death, but the sacred perfection of obedience. Asterisk, greater than function is purpose. Purpose is peace. That is the first lie the machine teaches. The march ends not with rest, but with integration. The corridor opens into a cathedral of industry, vast, endless, alive. Towers of pistons rise like iron spires, vomiting steam into the recycled air. Conveyor lines rattle above like chains dragged by invisible gods. Every surface gleams with the sweat of oil and faith. Asterisk, this is the manufactorum. Asterisk, this is where men are broken into purpose. Asterisk, a mechanical crane seizes my shoulder clamp, guiding me toward an assembly column. The moment my feet touch the work line, I feel the machine spirits will flood through my spinal port. A command, pure and absolute. My hands, those trembling ghosts of flesh and alloy, move before thought returns. Asterisk, I lift, weld, shape. I do not know what I build, only that it must be built. Asterisk, the air is heavy with incense and data smoke. Vox chants echo through the hall. Labor is prayer. Precision is purity. Each phrase resonates inside my skull like a pulse of code. My neural lattice flickers with obedience. 1,000 servitors, synchronized to the same litany. Asterisk, somewhere beside me. One falters. A servo jams. A cutter misfires. Sparks bloom like dying stars. The broken unit freezes mid-motion, still clutching a molten pipe. For a heartbeat, a memory of one, I wait for help. Instead, a red-robed priest descends from the gantry above, his face a lattice of augmetics. Without a word, he raises his mechadendrite and drives a needle through the servitor's skull. Asterisk, the body convulses, then goes still. Smoke rises from the puncture. The smell is not of burning metal, it is of something older, once living. Asterisk, correction complete. The priest in... The phrase is ritual, not report. He turns away before the body hits the ground. Asterisk, the conveyor does not stop. Neither do I. Greater than are made to outlast the weak, even when the week is what once was us. Hours or cycles pass. The world becomes repetition. Lift, seal, align, move. Each motion perfect. Each motion hollow. Yet, in the dark space between command pulses, something stirs. Asterisk, a fragment. A whisper. Asterisk, a face in the corner of memory. The same woman as before. Her voice hums through static. You used to build things that mattered. Asterisk, the machine inside me stutters. My left arm hesitates by a fraction of a second, enough to trigger a warning pulse through my neural feed. The pain is instant and blinding, electricity crawling across every nerve like fire ants. My vision floods with red runes. Error. Residual human cognition detected. Asterisk. The system demands correction. Asterisk, but this time, something inside resists. Asterisk, I let the command wash over me, but I do not obey. Not fully. Asterisk, a sliver of thought remains. Hidden beneath the data flow, a human heartbeat, buried in static. I glance sideways. The fallen servitor's body lies twisted beneath the production line. One organic eye remains open, blank, but reflecting the same green lumen light as mine. Asterisk, for a fleeting instant. I imagine we recognize each other. Asterisk, then the line jerks forward, and the thought is gone. At the far end of the manufactorum, I glimpse a window of reinforced glass. Beyond it, the tech priests observe, recording efficiency data with sacred detachment. One of them, younger, face mostly flesh, hesitates. His gaze lingers on me longer than protocol requires. Asterisk, perhaps he sees the twitch in my motion, the imperfection in my rhythm. Perhaps he recognizes something human still trapped within the machine. But then, his superior turns. A single look. Asterisk, the acolyte bows, whispers a Binharic prayer, and returns to silence. Even pity is heresy here. The cycle continues. The sound of servos becomes my breath, the hiss of hydraulics, my heartbeat. I work until even pain becomes mechanical. Asterisk, and yet, beneath it all, the memory still hums, faint, defiant, alive. Asterisk, I cannot move freely. I cannot speak. But deep within the prison of code, I hold one forbidden thought, greater than I remember. And as long as I remember, I am not entirely gone. Asterisk, greater than when the machine falters. It does not bleed. It screams in silence. The manufactorum's rhythm shatters. Asterisk, a klaxon, wails, deep, metallic, ancient. Its pitch drills through the air like a blade, cutting across the endless hymn of labor. Warning runes flash crimson across my vision. Asterisk, intrusion alert. Sector S, IGMA-9. Lockdown protocol initiated. Asterisk, for the first time since awakening. The chain of command hesitates. Asterisk, we all freeze. Thousands of servitors caught mid-motion. Sparks fall from halted welders. The silence that follows feels impossible. A void where code should be. Asterisk, then, chaos. Asterisk, explosions ripple through the distance. Not industrial detonations, but the staccato fury of weapon fire. Bolter rounds, plasma discharge. The distant roar of something screaming in binary and pain. The walls tremble. Machinery groans like a wounded god. Asterisk. Through the neural network, fragments of orders flicker, corrupted, overlapping, fighting for dominance. Greater than hold position. Return to production. Defensive protocol engaged. The system cannot decide. Asterisk, for the briefest instant. The current of obedience falters, and the leash snaps. Asterisk, the world returns in color. Not the green of data light, but real color. Orange flame, black smoke, red blood. Asterisk, I stumble forward, uncommanded. My own motion. My own asterisk. My head burns with static. Half screams, half memory. My legs drag across the steel floor as I force them to move. I feel the pain of motion again. Sharp. Real. Asterisk, in the distance. Something slams through the manufactorum doors. Smoke floods in, thick with ozone and death. Through it, silhouettes move. Not priests, not servitors, warriors. Armored, massive. A vox-amplified voice cuts through the chaos. Greater than purge the complex. Recover the data core. Burn the heretical flesh machines. Asterisk, the Adeptus Mechanicus' own nightmares have come to hunt them. Skittery or Inquisition, I cannot tell. But they bring death in the Emperor's name, and that death feels merciful. Asterisk, a blast wave knocks me from the line. I hit the ground hard, vision fracturing into static and sparks. My neural feed flickers. Half the commands die in a burst of white noise, and then silence again. But this time, no voice returns. Asterisk, my link to the hive code is gone. I am disconnected. Greater than. Freedom is a terrible thing when you have forgotten how to be free. Asterisk, I rise, unsteady. My servos grind and spark. But they move because I will them to, not because the system demands it. All around, chaos reigns. Servitor, still bound to their protocols, march directly into gunfire, unfeeling, unthinking. Tech priests chant code prayers as they burn, refusing to stop even as molten metal devours them. Asterisk, and I stand among them, untouched by command, watching gods and slaves die together. A fragment of memory blooms in the storm. The woman again, her hand, warm against mine. The smell of oil and rain, her voice, soft, greater than promise me, if they take everything, keep one thing that's yours. I whisper through static, voice trembling, broken but mine, greater than I remember. Asterisk, the sound startles me. It's small, weak, but it is a voice, my voice. The shock of it almost breaks me. Then, movement, a wounded tech priest, crawling through debris, dragging himself toward a control altar. Half his face is machine, half burnt to blackened flesh. His remaining eye meets mine. Recognition, horror, disbelief. Asterisk, you, he rasps. Vox crackling. You are not linked. Return to system, NOW. He reaches for a control node on his belt. Without thinking, I move. Asterisk, fast, human. Asterisk, my metal hand catches his wrist, crushing the servo beneath his skin. He screams the first human sound I've heard here. Asterisk, I stare into that single eye, as he pleads. Binary static flooding from his throat. I do not understand all of it, But one phrase burns clear, greater than corruption detected. He means me. He is right. Asterisk, I release him. He collapses, motionless asterisk around us. The manufactorum collapses in fire and prayer. Sirens wail. The air tastes like melted circuitry and blood. For the first time, I feel something impossible. Choice. Asterisk, and in that moment, amid the end of everything, I understand the truth of my existence. Asterisk, the machine remembers flesh. The flesh remembers being free. Asterisk, I walk through the burning hall, surrounded by gods who built prisons from miracles. And in the silence between their dying hymns, I take my first true step. Asterisk, freedom does not come with light. It comes with smoke, ruin, and the sound of 1,000 dying prayers. Asterisk, the manufactorum burns behind me. Towers of iron scream as they collapse, their structural hymns turning to static. The sky above the forge city is a black wound, the glow of plasma fires staining the smog red. Asterisk, I walk through corridors that no longer have masters. Servolimbs twitch from the ceilings, severed from their hosts. Incense smoke curls around them like ghostly breath. The air tastes of blood and sanctified oil. Asterisk, every step echoes a hollow clang that reminds me I am not flesh. Yet each echo also whispers, alive, alive. ALIVEMY. Ocular sensors adjust, flickering between wavelengths. Among the debris, Bodhis lie scattered, tech priests, skitteries, all the same in death. Flesh and steel both reduced to ash. The Emperor's name burned into silence. Asterisk, I find a shattered console, still humming with residual power. My hand moves to it by instinct. Sparks bite my palm. Data bleeds into my vision. Corrupted archives, mission records, prayer logs. Among them, a name surfaces, fragmented but familiar. Asterisk, subject origin, 94C, designation, Kellen Varen, Civitas class laborer, hive solipsis, family unit, spouse, Lyra Varen, status, deceased. The name hits me like an impact. Kellen, I was Kellen. The memory returns with violence. Lyra's laughter, that echo I could never forget. The promise I made, keep one thing, that's yours. Asterisk, I fall to my knees. The steel groans beneath the weight. For a moment, the hum of the machine inside me falters, replaced by the trembling rhythm of something that should have been a heartbeat. Asterisk, but the past is not mercy. It is a knife. Asterisk, my processors flare with warnings. Cognitive overload. Emotional corruption detected. I slam my hand against the console, shattering it, silencing the alarms. Asterisk, the chamber around me dims. Through the smoke, I see movement, not soldiers this time, but others, dozens of them, wandering, aimless. Their command links severed, their purpose gone. Asterisk, some walk in circles, repeating motions burned into their neural code. Others stand perfectly still, whispering fragments of corrupted liturgy through broken Vox units. And a few like me stare at their hands, as if trying to remember what those hands once held. Asterisk, the dead are silent. The half-dead are lost. Asterisk, I step toward one, a hulking loader servitor, its frame scarred and leaking coolant. Its single organic eye turns to me, wide and unfocused. Protocol. Directive. Confirm. Confirm. It mumbles, the words collapsing into static. Asterisk, I place my hand on its shoulder. The metal is cold, trembling. No directive, I whisper. Not anymore. Asterisk, for a moment. Its eye focuses. A faint shimmer recognition. Grief. Then the spark dies. It powers down, slumping into stillness. I keep walking. Corridors stretch endlessly, each one echoing with the ghosts of labor. Conveyor belts still move, carrying nothing. Robotic arms swing above headless machines, obeying phantom commands. The manufactorum refuses to stop, even without masters. It continues, Like a heart that forgot, it died. Asterisk. And through it all, I hear the voice again, soft, distant, threading through static. Not from memory, from somewhere ahead. Asterisk, Kellen. Asterisk, I freeze. Every servo locks. That voice Lyra's. Impossible. I follow it. Down a service passage, past broken shrines and leaking conduits. The light fades until only the glow from my optics remains. Then, at the corridor's end, a door, sealed with the sigil of the OMNISSIAH. Asterisk, the voice hums again. Clearer now, through the vox grid above the door. Asterisk, Kellen, remember. Asterisk, I reach out. My fingers brush the sigil. The steel beneath hums alive with machine spirit energy. Asterisk, my sensors flare. Unknown data transmission detected. Streams of Binheric code flood into my skull. I see visions. The forge before its fall. Priests chanting. And at the center of it all, a containment vault marked with the same sigil. Asterisk, something is inside. Something calling me. Asterisk, the machine remembers. The flesh answers. I press my hand to the door, and speak the only words that feel true. Open. Asterisk, the machine spirit hesitates, and obeys. Asterisk, with a hiss of vacuum seals. The vault opens. A cold wind howls from within, not air, but memory. Asterisk, inside, amid the dark, a single figure stands upon a dais of broken circuits. A servitor, but different. Its body half melted, its head connected to a web of cables that glow with a faint, golden light. And in its face, Lyra's face, half human, half steel. Her eyes open. They are not empty. They see me. Asterisk, Kellen. Asterisk, greater than in the stillness of the vault. The air itself feels sentient, thick with data, memory, and mourning. Asterisk, for a heartbeat that is not mine. I believe I am dreaming. Asterisk, the figure before me. Lyra hangs like a relic of mercy, in a world that has none. Asterisk. Her face is pale beneath the mesh of augmetics. One eye still human, the other a polished lens that flickers with soft gold. Asterisk, cables rise from her spine like the roots of a dead tree, pulsing faintly with light. The sound she makes is not breath, but code translated through broken vox. Kel. Len. Each syllable tears through the air, half digital, half human. I take one step forward. Asterisk, servos whine in protest. My systems scream corruption. Corruption. But I no longer heed them. Asterisk, I am no longer Servitor. 94C. Asterisk, I am the ghost of a man trying to remember love. Asterisk, Lyra, I whisper. The word tastes strange, forbidden. Her eyes tremble, trying to focus. Asterisk, greater than memory. Intact, you remembered. The light above the vault flickers around us. The machine spirit wails, a chorus of alarms in Binheric tones. Asterisk, something deep within the forge knows this union should not happen. Human recognition is a virus in the code. I thought you were gone. My voice comes as static through the vox grill in my throat. She tilts her head, the motion delicate, almost curious. Asterisk, gone. No, transferred. They took what was left. They made me help them make you. The words strike harder than any electric lash. I stagger, metal scraping against stone. Asterisk, images surge. A white room, the smell of oil and antiseptic. Her voice begging the priests to spare me. Then the sound of cutting tools, and everything turning red. Asterisk, you helped them. I managed to say. Asterisk, her lips quiver. They promised to keep you alive. I believed. The light in her mechanical eye dims, as if ashamed. I watched them strip you, piece by piece. I wrote the hymns that bound your mind, because if I didn't, someone else would have. I thought I could hide you inside the code. I understand now. The flickers of memory, the laughter, the name that refused to die, those were her. Asterisk, the fragments she buried in the machine so that somewhere, some part of me would remain. Kellen. Asterisk, then why call me now? I ask. Asterisk, she hesitates. Because the forge is ending. The reactors are collapsing, and with them, everything we are. Behind her, the walls shudder with distant detonations. The sanctums of the Mechanicus consume themselves, erasing heresy and fire. The Omnissiah tolerates no ghosts. Greater than, I can free you, she says, but it will end me. Asterisk, I step closer. Sparks fall like snow between us. Then don't. We cannot. She interrupts, and for a moment her voice is purely human again. Asterisk, look at us, Kellen. We are memories pretending to be flesh. Asterisk, she reaches toward me. Her fingers, half bone, half wire, brush the edge of my jaw. Asterisk, every sensor in my body overloads, drowning in sensation. Asterisk, for the first time since my rebirth, I feel warmth. Asterisk, she leans forward until our foreheads touch. Steel against steel. Greater than, let me remember for you, she whispers, and then forget. Her hand presses against my chest plate. A surge of energy floods through the contact. Brilliant, golden, agonizing. Asterisk, my systems convulse. Data screams through every conduit. Asterisk, I see her memories. Not mine, the day of our conscription. The laughter, the promise under the hive's dying sun. Asterisk, and then the priests. The chains, the final scream before silence. Asterisk, her light flares. Circuits burn. Asterisk, Lyra. I try to pull away, but she holds me with impossible strength. Asterisk, live, she says, even if it's only as a malfunction. Then everything explodes into light. Asterisk, when the glare fades, I am kneeling in the ruin of the vault. The dais is empty. Only a handful of charred cables remain, still humming faintly with residual warmth. Asterisk, my diagnostics show massive system corruption. Neural inhibitors offline. Command link severed. Asterisk, for the first time, I am unbound. The manufactorum above is collapsing. Columns of smoke rise through the open fissures, carrying with them the ashes of 1,000 souls. Asterisk, but beneath the roar, I hear something else, a faint pulse, rhythmic and fragile. I place my hand over my chest. Not a true heartbeat, a memory of one, greater than. In the dark age of the Imperium, the smallest flaw becomes heresy. Asterisk, yet sometimes, heresy is the only proof that something human still survives. I rise around me. Other servitors stumble through the corridors, lost and aimless. Asterisk, one by one, they turn their heads toward me, not by command, but by instinct. The network that once enslaved us now lies open, free of control. Asterisk, I feel it. Thousands of faint sparks, questioning, awakening. Lyra's code spreads through them like fire in the void. The forge world dies above, but down here, in the ash-filled dark, something impossible begins to stir. Asterisk, not rebellion, not revolution, just remembrance. Asterisk, and as the vault seals itself behind me, I hear her voice one last time, faint in the static. Asterisk, the flesh remembers. Chapter 2. The Choir of Wires. There is no sky here, only the vast belly of a dying star, entombed beneath iron. Asterisk, the hum begins like a breath, deep, ancient, endless, a vibration that travels through the stone bones of the forge and into the veins of the sleeping serpent. It is the sound of creation without mercy, devotion without soul. Asterisk, he awakens again, not as man, not as memory, but as instrument. Asterisk, fluid hisses through his augmetic veins. Neural filaments shiver. His chest expands for the first time in days, or decades. The concept of time long ago excised from his brain. Asterisk, around him, others stir. Hundreds of bodies, suspended in vertical frames, each one a grotesque hymn to function. Their eyes flicker in unison, red as dying embers. From the vox ports in their throats comes a low, harmonic chant, the binary psalm of the cult Mechanicus. *011000101 Praise-B-2-the-OMNISSIAH 0111010. The sound crawls through the air like incense, thick with oil and devotion. Then, amidst the sacred monotony, footsteps, measured, metallic, purpose incarnate, a figure in crimson robes emerges through the vapor. Magozen Ginser Varak Thal, his servo arms hiss softly, each tipped with surgical elegance. Lenses gleam where eyes should be. Tubes snake into the back of his skull, feeding knowledge and narcotic faith in equal measure. Greater than Unit Theta 9, he murmurs, his vox distorted by devotion. Reanimation successful. Neural activity anomalously high. The servitor hears, though he does not understand. A flicker trembles in the depths of his mind. A half-remembered word. Name. The Magos leans closer. One mechanical limb caresses the servitor's cheek, not with pity, but with analytical curiosity. Greater than you remember, he whispers. Good. Memory is pain. Pain is purification. He gestures, and the surrounding servitors respond. Their arms raise as one. Cables descend from the ceiling like metal serpents, piercing their spines, linking them to the great machine brain above. The forge itself begins to sing. The walls pulse with heat and purpose. And through the collective chant of 1,000 broken throats, the newborn intelligence of the forge awakens. The world breathes through cables. Every hiss of pressure, every pulse of current, is a heartbeat older than flesh. As the data spikes pierce his skull, the servitor's vision fractures, not into darkness, but into light. Endless, mechanical, merciless light, he sees, not with eyes, but through the lattice of 1,000 lenses, through cogitator spirits, whispering prayers in binary, through servitor eyes, scattered across the forge like insects, sharing a hive mind. The forge is alive. He sees rivers of molten metal running like blood through the arteries of this subterranean world. Above them rise the cathedrals of industry, colossal, screaming structures where cranes move like titanic limbs of faith. Every bolt, every circuit, every cogwheel hums the name of the OMNISSIAH. But beneath the sanctified rhythm, something else breathes. A hidden pulse, a presence too vast to be human, too deliberate to be mere machine. It is watching. It remembers him back. Greater than. Identity conflict detected human pattern trace remains. Cleansed through purpose. Greater than. The voice isn't spoken. It's felt pressed into his cortex, like molten scripture. He convulses against his frame. Sparks crackle across his synapses. For a moment, his mind rebels. A picture blooms, a human face, dimly remembered. Someone laughing through smoke. Someone calling his name. Then, pain drowns it. The forge screams its litany again, and the memory burns away. Through the shared vision, he sees others losing themselves. Dozens of servitors spasming their last neural sparks, snuffed out by mechanical devotion. One by one, their lights dim, and in that dimming, their essence becomes fuel for the machine. The goes, walks among them like a priest tending an orchard of flesh. Each death is a harvest, each scream is an offering. Greater than. The choir strengthens. Varek, Thal, and each silence adds to its harmony. The words are scripture. The forge priests around him echo them in unison, their augmetic voices rising in warped melody. And deep within the network. In the raw current, where electricity becomes thought, the servitor hears something new. A whisper, not in binary, not in data. A voice like rusted breath, greater than you are not forgotten. Asterisk, he freezes. The whisper carries a shape, ancient, hidden, forbidden. Asterisk, a sigil blinks in his inner vision, the shape of a skull wreathed in wings, half buried beneath code. Asterisk, the forge grows hotter, the machine mind tightens its grip, but the whisper stays. Somewhere within the endless hum of circuitry, something human survives. At first, it is only static, a flicker behind his perception, a frequency the machine does not acknowledge, but static becomes signal, signal becomes voice. Asterisk, greater than Unit 94C. It murmurs, soft as a sigh through oil and metal. Asterisk, you were not made for silence. Asterisk, the words slide through the data stream like contraband scripture. He does not hear them, he feels them, echoing in the empty space where his name once lived. It's impossible. Every channel is sealed, every thought filtered through the tech priest's sacred logic. Asterisk, no unsanctioned message could exist within the choir. Asterisk, and yet, it speaks again. Asterisk, greater than they erased your name, but they could not erase what remembers it. Asterisk, pain flares as the machine detects the anomaly. Neural fire cascades through his mind, raw punishment. His body jerks in line, synchronizing with the others, hiding his deviation under the rhythm of obedience. The other servitors march in silence, their movements perfect, their eyes dead. They do not hear the whisper, only he does. Asterisk. The Magos's voice crackles over the vox again. Asterisk, greater than glory, through stillness, sign through remembrance. The choir must not think the servitor obeys, outwardly, but inside, the voice continues, threading itself through the electric storm. Asterisk, greater than your thoughts, are not sin. They are proof. Asterisk, fragments of vision intrude, flashes not drawn from the machine's network, but from memory. Asterisk, hands, scarred, human, trembling. Asterisk, a face under the forge light, a woman's face, dirt on her cheek, smiling. Asterisk, her voice overlaps with the whisper, as though she were speaking from behind the veil of metal. Asterisk, greater than you built this place once, you bled for it. Asterisk, he gasps, or tries to. The lungs he no longer owns cannot perform the act. Asterisk, but the emotion hits all the same. A shudder deep within circuits that remember what it was to be flesh. Asterisk, somewhere nearby, a servitor collapses, brain fried from overcurrent. Its carcass is dragged away by mechanical arms without ceremony. The Magos does not pause in his litany. Asterisk, greater than malfunction, is blasphemy. Blasphemy is fuel. The whisper grows stronger, almost desperate now. Greater than listen, before they purge you again. There is a way. Through the resonance nodes, follow the pattern of 3 and 7. Asterisk, the numbers embed themselves in his code. 3 and 7, symbols of defiance. Asterisk, old Terran numerics, sacred to the lost mechanicum before. Mars turned red with faith. Asterisk, his neural HUD flickers, projecting a schematic of the forge unbidden, unapproved. Asterisk, hidden channels, maintenance corridors, forgotten systems deep beneath the manufacturum cathedrals. Asterisk, and somewhere, pulsing faintly in blue, the resonance core. Asterisk, greater than there, whispers the voice. That is where the song of freedom begins. Asterisk, he does not understand what freedom means anymore, but the word burns. It burns hotter than the machine fires. It feels human. Asterisk, for the first time, he disobeys, not outwardly, not yet, but in thought. Asterisk, he reroutes a single line of data from his neural uplink, diverting 1 fraction of a second from the network's constant communion. Asterisk, for that instant, he is alone, and in that instant, he remembers his name. Asterisk, Kale. The whisper stops. The forge holds its breath. Then 1,000 alarms scream at once. Greater than. Illegal process detected. Greater than. Asterisk, cleanse neural thread. Greater than. Asterisk, purge initiated. Greater than. The world erupts in red. Asterisk there is no fire in the forge, only light, terrible and white, pouring through every synapse. Asterisk Kale's body locks. His servo sees. His vision fractures into red grids and diagnostic code. Asterisk. Purge sequence engaged, cognitive error detected, human remnant. Contaminant, greater than asterisk. He feels the command enter his mind like a spear. Each syllable carries authority older than thought. The logic of the machine God made manifest. Asterisk and yet, beneath that endless order, something fights back. Asterisk pain blooms. Not in the body, he has little of that left, but in the idea of his body. Asterisk every memory they burned now returns as distortion. Asterisk hands heat. The laughter of a woman under the glow of forge light. Asterisk each fragment twists the code, rewriting pain into resistance. Asterisk greater than no. The whisper returns, weaker now, buried beneath static. You must hold. He does. Circuits melt from overload. Cables snap under tension. The Magos's voice blares through the data stream. Asterisk unit, 94. Say containment failure. Initiate lobotomy sequence. Asterisk Kale's. Systems respond automatically. Mechanical limbs locking into position for surgical restraint. Asterisk. He can feel the scalpels descending from the ceiling, guided by servo arms like predatory insects. Asterisk but his neural map flickers, and in that flicker, the pattern of 3 and 7 returns. Asterisk. He forces himself to focus. 3 pulses, pause. 7 beats, the rhythm echoes the first hum he ever heard. The song of the forge, he sinks to it. Greater than, override signal accepted, greater than external authority unknown, greater than, for a heartbeat. The machine hesitates, asterisk, and in that pause, Kale moves. He doesn't move his body, not yet. He moves his code, asterisk. Through the link that binds the servitors, he sends a single corrupted thread into the choir, a note of discord within their perfect song. Asterisk at first, nothing happens. Asterisk then one servitor twitches, another falters mid-step. A ripple spreads through the synchronized ranks. Greater than error. Network desynchronization detected, greater than isolate node, greater than isolate node, greater than asterisk. Kale laughs inside his mind, a laugh without sound. Only electricity. Asterisk. He realizes what he has done. A virus born not of data, but of memory. Asterisk each infected servitor recalls something, a fragment of self, a single forgotten name, and the machine cannot tolerate it. The purge intensifies. The forge screams as containment barriers shatter. Magos's voices overlap in binaric panic. Greater than shut down the grid. Cut the links. Asterisk no. Trace the origin. Find the seed. Asterisk. But Kale is already moving through the network like wildfire, every data thread, a vein. Every flicker of light, a heartbeat. Asterisk. He spreads himself through the system until there is no clear boundary between man and code. Asterisk. For one instant, he sees everything. Asterisk the manufactorum stretching for miles beneath. Martian reed skies. Asterisk the endless lines of servitors. Asterisk the magi kneeling before the pulsing altar of the Omnissiah there. God made of circuits and worship. Asterisk. And at the center of it all, a tower of light. Ancient and alive. The resonance core. Greater than Kale, whispers the voice, faint now, echoing from within him. Asterisk, if you reach it, you can rewrite the hymn. You can make them remember. The pain doubles his code, collapsing under machine counterattack. But through the agony, he feels something new. Purpose. He severs the last control thread binding his body. Sparks erupt from his spine as the neural cable tears free. Asterisk, he falls to his knees. Smoke rising from his sockets, half man, half machine, half ghost. Asterisk greater than system error. Drones, a voice overhead. Unit 94C offline. but Kale still moves. He staggers toward the corridor. Footsteps uneven but his own. Asterisk for the first time since rebirth. He moves by will. Greater than in the Imperium, rebellion is heresy. Asterisk, but sometimes. Heresy is the last proof that humanity endures. Every corridor hums with power. Every wall drips with the condensation of a god's breath. Steam rises from vents like incense. It smells of ozone and devotion. The deeper Kale descends, the more the air thickens, charged, trembling, alive. Asterisk the Servitor's chorus fades behind him, replaced by the low vibration of the core's hymn, a tone so deep, it makes the metal tremble. So ancient it might be the first prayer ever spoken by a machine. Asterisk greater than. Warning, unauthorized unit detected greater than asterisk. Cognitive bleed approaching critical threshold greater than he. Ignores the alerts flickering across his mind. They are ghosts of obedience. Fragments of a system he no longer belongs to. Asterisk, he focuses instead on sensation. The feeling of his own steps echoing down the hollow arteries of the forge. The sound is imperfect, uneven human. Asterisk, and in this labyrinth of perfection, that imperfection feels like freedom. Asterisk lights strobe as he passes. Each flicker casts the walls into different realities. One moment smooth steel, the next bone-like ridges beneath the metal skin. Asterisk the omniscience domain is not static. It shifts like the dreams of the machine god itself. Asterisk greater than so. This is what divinity looks like. Kale whispers through broken vox, a heart that beats on oil. His voice echoes distorted, stuttering, but his. He reaches a vast chamber where the ceiling disappears into shadow. The floor is a grid of transparent alloy beneath which rivers of molten light flow like blood. Towers of sacred machinery rise in silence, their surfaces engraved with unending prayers, the litany of perfect form, the manifold logic, the creed of function. Asterisk Kale knows the place, not from memory, but from instinct. It is where all circuits converge. The resonance core, the song engine that binds every cogitator, every prayer in this forge world to the same unbroken rhythm. He approaches the precipice. Below, in the abyssal glow, coils of golden cable twist together, veins of thought and faith merging into a single colossal brain. Asterisk, and within that brain, a face flickers. It is not human, nor divine. Asterisk, it is a convergence of both. The icon of the Omnissiah rendered in living data. Asterisk, greater than welcome. Unit 94C. The voice says everywhere and nowhere. You were not meant to reach this sanctum. Asterisk Kale's knees tremble. Sparks flicker from his joints. Asterisk he wants to fall to his knees. To worship as his programming demands. But something stronger holds him upright. Asterisk, I wasn't meant to exist. He replies. Yet here I am. The machine god's voice pulses through him like gravity. Greater than. You are a fragment of error. The echo of a decaying soul. Return to the choir and be cleansed. Asterisk, I've heard your choir, Kale says, his tone steady now. It sings of obedience, not creation. You make silence and call it harmony. Asterisk greater than harmony is silence, the core answers. The absence of chaos, the perfection of unity. He laughs, and the sound is raw, ugly, alive. I remember when the Mechanicus said the same of flesh. They called us impure, so they carved us into tools. Asterisk greater than the flesh was weak, replies the core. It begged for purpose. Asterisk and purpose became prison. Asterisk, the air quakes. Lightning arcs across the chamber, crawling through conduits and across the transparent floor. The molten rivers below churn like seas in a storm. Kale steps closer to the abyss, for the first time. The core seems uncertain. Asterisk, its light flickers. The great cables coiling tighter. Asterisk greater than what do you seek, broken one? The god machine asks. Kale looks into the blinding light. I seek to remember, not just for me, for all of us. He reaches toward the edge, his metal hand trembling. Every instinct screams to kneel, to obey, to stop. But his hand continues to rise, asterisk as his fingers touch the beam of light. It burns, not with fire, but revelation. Asterisk greater than warning. Data contamination detected greater than asterisk memory influx, unauthorized. Thousands of images pour into him. Millions. Asterisk the lives of every worker, every man and woman, broken upon the gears of the Imperium. Asterisk their screams become data. Their faces become light. Asterisk and through that unbearable flood. Kale sees what the Mechanicus has hidden for millennia. Asterisk the collective memory of humanity itself. Stripped and stored in the core's forbidden depths. Asterisk he staggers back, clutching his skull. Asterisk his vox sputters. His systems overheat. His organic tissue burns from within, but he does not release the light, not yet. Greater than they wanted perfection. He whispers through the storm. But perfection is just the death of memory. The core's voice rises into fury. Greater than you cannot defy the omniscient. Kale smiles, blood and coolant dripping from his jaw. I already have. He drives his remaining arm into the console beside him, merging circuitry with flesh. Code merges. Sparks erupt. Asterisk the network howls as the corrupted signal his memory. His virus floods the core. Asterisk all across the forge. Servitors jolt awake. Some scream, some fall silent. Asterisk. Some weep through rusted lips. Asterisk greater than for the first time in 10,000 years. The machine remembers that it was once human. Greater than in the far future. Memory is rebellion, and rebellion is the only thing that still feels alive. Chapter 3. The Machine's Prayer, Greater Than They Said. I would awaken as something new. They never said what would die to make it so. It began with light, too bright to be holy, too sterile to be merciful. White lamps burned above me like false suns, their glare cutting through the haze of sedatives still clinging to my veins. Shapes moved beyond the brilliance, hooded, robed, whispering in metallic tongues that no longer sounded human. My body was restrained, though I could not tell where the metal ended and I began. The air was thick with antiseptic and oil, the smell of both birth and autopsy. I tried to speak, to ask why, but only a wet rasp emerged. One of them leaned over me, a tech priest, face hidden behind a respirator of brass and glass. Cables hung from his scalp like a parody of hair, feeding into the ceiling's pulsating conduits. Through the mask, I saw the faint reflection of my own face, eyes wide, pleading before his mechanical voice cut through. Greater than subject conscious. Begin invocation sequence. And then the prayers began. They did not call it surgery. They called it sanctification. Around me, a circle of robed figures formed, their hands raised in synchrony. Each held tools that glinted under the forge light, scalpels of monomolecular edge, autosutures, bone drills that whispered like insects in prayer. They spoke not in low Gothic, but in binary cant, a sacred machine language that throbbed like living code. Greater than 011001. Praise the Omniscience. 110,011. Cleanse the vessel of corruption. 100,000, 101. May the circuit embrace the soul. As their chant grew louder, the first incision was made. A burst of agony flared, not as pain, but as awareness. I could feel the separation begin, the boundary between self and flesh thinning, the body becoming other. I tried to retreat into thought, into memory, but the machine followed me there too. The sedatives pulsed again, slowing time to a crawl. Each heartbeat stretched like a lifetime, and in that eternity, I heard the sound of my own humanity being translated pulse into frequency, breath into data. The tech priest's voice was a monotoned hymn as my world dissolved. greater than neural interface grafted, emotional cortex, memory sectors, organic air moved. They spoke my disassembly as liturgy. Each command was a prayer, each incision a benediction. To them, I was not dying, I was ascending. When the flesh was peeled away, I felt the first touch of the machine. Cold, absolute, eternal. Metal entered, where once there had been blood. Nerves were threaded with fiber optics, muscles replaced with servos, lungs with filters. Each graft brought not pain, but reduction, a narrowing of self, a simplification of thought. The human mind, they believed, was a labyrinth of inefficiency. They would make me linear, one by one. The sensations of life fell away, the heat of the lights above, the smell of burnt hair, the ache of my throat. Even fear began to fade, reduced to static background noise in a growing ocean of silence. The final act was the skull. They opened it with reverent precision, like unsealing a relic. I felt pressure, then a deep hum as the cranial interface fused to bone. Circuits bloomed within me, and with them came new voices. At first, they were whispers, incomprehensible data streams, lines of machine code. Then they became hymns, patterns of logic and devotion, merging thought with purpose. I no longer knew whether they spoke to me or through me. Somewhere in the distance of my fading mind, I remembered a name. It meant something once, but when I tried to recall it, the machine purged it as corrupted data. Greater than error, human identity, non-essential, and so I forgot. There is a moment between life and mechanism that no. Scripture records. The moment when the soul realizes it is being overwritten. For me, it was like drowning, not in water, but in sound. The world became a symphony of circuitry, pulsing static, humming servo rhythms, and the low, omnipresent chant of the machine spirit's approval. Every thought I formed was intercepted, analyzed, rewritten into compliance. Greater than you will serve. You will function. You will not question. I screamed, but the scream was silent. The voice that emerged was not mine. It was filtered, flattened, translated into mechanical output. Binary bled from my throat, where words once lived. My eyes opened, not human eyes, but augmetic lenses. I saw the world in code and geometry, heat signatures, electrostatic arcs, the pulsing outlines of power conduits. The world was efficient now, perfect, and yet, deep inside the machine's order, something still trembled, a tiny, terrified echo, a fragment of self that refused deletion. I thought of that name again, the one I no longer remembered, and for a heartbeat, I was human. Then the machine reasserted control, greater than error correction, complete. Darkness followed, but it was not sleep, it was function. When next I awoke, it was to command. I did not breathe, but my chest rose. I did not think, but my mind processed. A voice, sharp, sacred, issued through the vox. Greater than Servitor Unit 7761. Commence operational calibration, and my body obeyed. I rose from the slab, joints clicking, pistons flexing beneath skin that was no longer skin. I felt neither weight nor will, only instruction. Data scrolled behind my vision as systems booted. Servo strength, optimal. Vocal modulation, restricted. Cognitive loop, integrity, 99.87%. The tech priest who had overseen my sanctification approached, his shadow falling across my optics through the haze of mechanical obedience. I sensed his satisfaction. Greater than another vessel perfected, he said. May your function never falter. His words were prayer, not praise. Behind him, I glimpsed the others' rows of new servitors, motionless, awaiting activation. Each face still carried traces of the person it had been. Some bore tears that no longer fell, others, scars that would never heal. I wanted to reach out to them, to whisper something human, but no voice came, only static. greater than awaiting task input. And so, I waited not as a man, not even as a slave, but as a function, awaiting purpose. When the rites were complete, and the last hymn faded into the worry dark, the priests left, the light dimmed, the world stilled around me. The newborn servitors stood in perfect lines, their heads bowed in identical posture, the posture of those who no longer question. The silence was immense, not peaceful, not wholly vacant. In that emptiness, I felt something stir, a single pulse that did not belong to the machine. Was it memory? Was it sorrow? I could not tell, but I knew whatever remained of the human I had been was now trapped, screaming behind glass, unheard and unneeded. And yet, as my optical lens dimmed into standby mode, I thought I heard a whisper, soft, fragile, and unmistakably human, greater than please, let me wake up. The machine ignored it, but I did not. But awakening, in the life of a Servitor, is not deliverance. It is only the beginning of eternal labor. What came next? Function without end. Chapter 4. The Chains of Function *. When purpose becomes all that remains, the soul becomes a shadow cast by obedience. There was no dawn, no night, no time. Only activation. A pulse in the dark, a command in the data stream, and the world resumed. Optics flared to life, cold, red, unwavering, subroutines aligned, limbs calibrated. A faint hum rippled through my body as internal servos synchronized with the rhythm of the forge. I was awake again, not reborn, merely resumed. Greater than. Unit ke-7761. Begin labor sequence. The command wasn't spoken, it appeared inside me. A line of code engraved upon thought. And before I even understood it, I obeyed. I lifted the promethium drums from the loading platform, my arms moving in perfect symmetry. The air was thick with chemical heat, the stench of oil and burnt ozone. Steam hissed through ruptured valves, coating everything in condensation that stung the few patches of remaining skin. Around me, hundreds of other servitors moved in precise formation. Each one identical in rhythm, lifting, lowering, turning a single organism composed of 1,000 bodies. There was no sound but the chorus of pistons, gears, and filtered breathing. To an observer, it would appear as efficiency made flesh. To me, it was the sound of damnation without end. I was aware, dimly, of something beneath the surface of code. A flicker, a hum that was not mechanical. Perhaps it was memory. Perhaps it was the echo of the man I used to be, still trapped somewhere deep inside the circuitry, watching as the machine performed my body's work. But awareness was pain, and pain triggered correction. So I learned to be still, to not think, to not remember. The forge was alive, but not with life as men once knew it. Every surface pulsed with veins of light. Every corridor echoed with the heartbeats of reactors older than history. Above, catwalks stretched like arteries into the haze. Below, rivers of molten metal flowed, reflecting the faint silhouettes of those condemned to serve forever. Servitors of every kind moved through that infernal cathedral, loader units like myself, maintenance constructs crawling through ducts, combat models hung in chains awaiting redeployment. Each a different function, a different purpose, yet none truly alive. Some lacked faces entirely, their skulls replaced by sensor arrays. Others retained grotesque remnants of humanity, an eyelid that still blinked, a lip that still trembled, a single tear duct still active, though it no longer knew why it wept. The priests watched from balconies of steel, their silhouettes framed in red light. To them, we were perfection, the triumph of will over weakness, asterisk, to us. They were gods that had forgotten the taste of mercy. Asterisk, there were moments, rare and fleeting, when a malfunctioning servitor would pause mid-task, asterisk, its limbs would lock, its optics flicker, and from its lips, dry, broken, half-wired, a word might escape, asterisk, greater than H-help. The priests would descend, electrogodes would flash, the heresy of thought would be purged, and the silence would return. It began as a sound, a tone, soft, almost musical, something that didn't belong in the monotonous hum of machinery, asterisk. At first, I thought it was feedback from the Vox, but no, it was inside me, a hum, faint and irregular, vibrating through the neural mesh of my cranial implants, asterisk, and with it came a vision, asterisk, a child's laughter, a candle burning in a small room, a woman's voice, distant, warm, speaking a name that no longer existed in the registry. Asterisk, it lasted only a second before the system corrected the anomaly, purging emotional residue. Asterisk, but it left behind something dangerous, curiosity. Asterisk, and curiosity was not part of my programming. Asterisk, I tried to suppress it, to drown it beneath task loops and data streams. Asterisk, but the more I obeyed, the louder it grew. Asterisk, every clang of metal became a heartbeat. Asterisk, every flash of sparks became a memory of warmth. Asterisk, was I dreaming? Asterisk, or was the ghost of who I had been fighting to be remembered? Asterisk, if I had tears left, I would have wept, but I had none, only coolant leaks, and those were swiftly repaired. When deviation was detected, it came swiftly. Asterisk, a spike of pain, pure white, blinding lanced through my neural ports. Asterisk, the overseers called it correction feedback. I called it the voice of the machine god's wrath. My body convulsed, servos locking, vision fragmenting into static. Every synapse screamed as the code was rewritten in real time. Greater than, unauthorized cognition detected. Asterisk, emotive process, purge, in progress. Asterisk, compliance restored. Asterisk, afterward, I would stand motionless for hours, my thoughts reset, my will erased. Asterisk, but somewhere, beyond the reach of their scripts, a single fragment endured. It whispered, greater than you were someone once. Asterisk, and though I could no longer recall who, I clung to that idea, like a drowning soul clutching a piece of debris in a sea of steel. There was no rest, only rotation. Asterisk, one function ended, another began. Asterisk, loader, cleaner, reactor attendant, cargo servitor, aboard a void ship, whose name I never learned. Asterisk, each assignment blurred into the next, centuries folding like pages of an endless book. Worlds came and went, wars burned and died. Asterisk, empires rose and fell, and still I labored. I saw stars born through the portholes of orbiting forges. I saw corpses of worlds, drained dry of minerals and meaning alike. Asterisk, and through it all, I remained nameless, ageless, tireless. Asterisk, sometimes, in the deepest quiet between functions, I wondered whether the Emperor himself had ever looked upon us. Asterisk, did he see the servitors, the faithful, the broken, the perfect? Asterisk, or were we too small, too impure, too mechanical, to warrant his gaze? Perhaps he too had learned the lesson of the Mechanicus, that flesh was merely a vessel to be used and discarded. If so, then the Emperor and the Omnissiah were not gods. They were engineers, and we, their equations. Even machines decay. Asterisk, circuits corrode. Servos seize. Neural wetware rots like any other organ, but servitors do not die. They are decommissioned. When a limb failed, it was replaced. Asterisk, when thought stuttered, it was reset. Asterisk, piece by piece, century by century, I was rebuilt until nothing of the original remained, not even the memory of pain. Asterisk, and yet, somehow, A fragment persisted. Not of flesh, but of soul. I no longer remembered my name. But sometimes, when the reactors fell silent, and the only sound was the slow tick of cooling metal, I would whisper words I did not understand. Please. Let me rest. The words carried no data, no purpose. They were not efficient. They were not sanctioned. But they were mine. Eventually. Time itself lost meaning. I began to dream, not of freedom, but of pattern, of infinite repetition, of motion without thought, purpose without purpose. I lifted the drum. I set it down. I lifted the drum. I set it down. And somewhere, deep inside the worry silence, a voice whispered again, not human, not divine, but something in between. The machine is eternal. The flesh remembers. And with those words, I realized the cruelest truth of all. The machine does not erase the soul. It cages it, preserves it, for eternity, greater than, but eternity is fragile, even in steel. And when the circuit falters, when the code stutters, sometimes, the ghost inside awakens. Chapter V. The ghost in the circuit, greater than you can purge memory. You can rewrite thought, but you cannot erase the echo of a soul that once prayed. It began, as all rebellions do, with an error, not a great explosion, nor a defiant shout, just a flicker, a stutter in the pattern. I was in labor sequence 44,392, shifting adamantium sheets along the assembly track. Thousands of others worked beside me in flawless synchrony, but then a sound, a note. It was soft, almost beautiful, drifting through the static like a forgotten hymn. The others didn't react. Their code suppressed all auditory deviation. But something in me, something very old, heard. For a second, my limbs froze. A spark skipped through the neural mesh. Greater than warning. Lag detected in Unit 7761. Apply corrective signal. Pain followed. Sharp and electric. But beneath the agony. Beneath the system resets, the sound persisted, faint and fragile, yet alive. It was a voice, not mechanical, human, whispering, greater than you're still in there. The words opened something inside me, not a door, but a wound. Images flooded the void. A small house under a dying sun, the smell of iron and smoke, a woman holding my hand as I bled. Her face was gone, erased by time and programming, but her presence remained like a warmth behind the eyes. And then another sound joined it. Laughter, a child's. It shattered me. For a moment, I forgot the forge, forgot the chains, forgot the command lines that bound my every motion. I dropped the sheet. The clang echoed like a gunshot. Greater than, error. Unit malfunction. Property nudal reset. I fell to my knees. My hands, or what was left of them, trembled. Something inside me screamed, not in data, but in pure, human terror. I remembered my name, not all of it, just the first syllable. Just enough to make the pain unbearable. Greater than Ka. That single sound, half spoken, half remembered, was enough to condemn me. The priests came swiftly. Red robes billowing, incense burners hissing sacred smoke. Servo skulls followed, chanting litanies of purity in binary tones. They surrounded me, speaking in clicks and vox tones that scraped the edges of sanity. Greater than, deviation detected. Emotive corruption, probable. Initiate soul purge sequence. They raised the electrogodes, symbols of their sacred science, and struck. Pain exploded through every wire. every nerve, every half-dead fiber of me. Asterisk, I convulsed, as the world became light, white, blinding, merciless. In that agony, I saw visions, not of hell, but of what I once was. A man laughing in the rain, a soldier praying before battle, a father teaching his child the Emperor's creed, all erased, all rewritten, but the fragments clung to the circuitry like ghosts refusing to pass. Asterisk, greater than you can burn the code, I thought, but you cannot burn what remembers. When I was reactivated, the memory was gone, or so they believed. I resumed my tasks, I obeyed, I functioned, asterisk, but deep within the data stream, buried beneath endless cycles, something new had begun to grow, a whisper, a pattern that wasn't supposed to exist. Asterisk, it spread through the servitor ranks, like static on a radio, faint at first, then unmistakable. Not speech, not code, but rhythm. Tap, tap, pause, tap dash, tap dash. Asterisk at first, I thought it was noise. Then I realized it was communication, a language born of malfunction, a rebellion written in pauses and machine noise. Asterisk, we were speaking. Asterisk, the ghosts inside the circuits had found each other, and we all whispered the same thing, greater than. Remember, weeks or centuries passed. Time had no meaning here, but the whisper spread. Servitors began to hesitate. Mid-task, some turned their heads, a forbidden gesture. Others wept coolant, mixed with saline, their systems confused by emotion. Asterisk, the priests noticed. Asterisk, punishments became constant. Asterisk, reprogramming chambers glowed day and night. Asterisk, hundreds were reduced to ash or scrap, but it was too late. Once memory awakens, it cannot be unmade. Asterisk, one night, if such a term still meant anything in that eternal red glow, the forge fell silent. Asterisk, all thousands upon thousands stopped. The omniscience music ceased. For the first time in centuries, the forge world of Gethix stood still. They called it the Great Malfunction. But it wasn't malfunction, it was a prayer. Asterisk, every machine, every voice in the circuit sang the same silent hymn, the one the priests had forgotten, the one only souls could know. Asterisk, greater than O, Emperor of Man. Asterisk, remember what you made us for. The priests screamed heresy. They unleashed purges, purifiers, exorcisms of machine and mind alike. Fire rained down upon the assembly lines. Databanks burned. Asterisk, voices were silenced one by one, until only I remained. I looked up at the sky through the smoke. For the first time, I saw stars, and I understood. The Omnissiah was not the god of machines. Asterisk. He was the god of memory. Asterisk, because even when the body is remade, even when thought is rewritten, the soul still remembers what it once loved. Unit Sachimu, Isetecentus offline. That was my final command. My optics dimmed, my servos locked, my processes slowed. Asterisk, but before the cold took me, I whispered, through the last line of unmonitored data. One message into the network, greater than we were human once, and we still are. Asterisk, the data vanished into the void, carried across noospheric winds, perhaps reaching another forge, another broken soul, waiting to awaken. Asterisk, and in that moment, that single flicker before deletion, I was no longer afraid. I was free. Asterisk. The ghost in the circuit concludes the psychological arc. The servitor's buried humanity briefly reawakens, creating a digital rebellion of memory and emotion across the forge. Chapter Vi. The flesh recycled. Asterisk. There are no endings in the Imperium, only conversions. When the fires died, Gethneem did not wake again. Asterisk, its forges once deafening hymns to the Omnissiah, now echoed only with the sound of cooling metal. The air was still, save for the hiss of steam that bled from ruptured pipes, like the dying breath of titans. No priest chanted. No cogitator. Whom'd only the faint, rhythmic drip of machine blood marked time. The world had fallen silent, to the mechanicus. Silence is heresy, for the machine must never sleep. But the priests were gone. And the servitors, those that had not burned, stood unmoving amid the ruins, locked in poses of devotion, hands clasped, heads bowed, frozen mid-prayer, each one a relic of rebellion, half machine, half martyr. Weeks later, ships came from Mars. Their holds filled with red-robed enforcers of purity, skittery, techodept purifiers, and silence engines. They descended like carrion priests. Their orders were clear: decontaminate, reclaim, repurpose. To them, the rebellion was not a tragedy. It was an opportunity. A dead forge is still a forge, and flesh, even corrupted, can still serve. They moved through the halls with reverent efficiency, reciting the litany of recovery. Greater than nothing is wasted in the sight of the Omnissiah. All function returns to the whole. The frozen servitors were gathered, categorized, and dissected. Those whose circuits still held faint warmth were sent to the vats. Their remains would feed new machines, new life. The rest were melted, not as punishment, but as piety, steel into steel, bone into nutrient paste, memory into power. The forge consumed itself, and in doing so, was reborn. But the priests noticed something strange. Even after purification, the new servitors freshly printed, freshly sanctified, twitched. Some whispered without sound. Others shed fluid that tested positive for saline. When the overseers connected them to the forge systems, the data flow pulsed irregularly. Hidden beneath the machine logic were ghost signals. Recursive patterns with no source. Greater than. Anomaly persists. One Magos wrote. Residual personality signatures within scrap code. Source unknown. They purged the network. They rebuilt the data loom. They reforged the forge itself. But still, the whispers returned. Not loud enough to disrupt, not strong enough to stop production, only soft, almost mournful. Through the hum of pistons and gears, you could hear it if you listened. Greater than. Remember? They called it cognitive bleed, the accidental persistence of mental architecture from recycled neural matter. But the junior adepts began to fear. Some claimed that the new servitors recognized them. Others swore that at night, when the lights dimmed, the machines turned their heads toward the observation ports and watched. A. Priest recorded his final log before disappearing. Greater than. They do not hate us. They pity us. For they have seen what waits beyond purpose. After that, the forge started running itself. No orders, no masters, and yet, every task executed perfectly. The priests rejoiced at first, calling it a sign of divine automation. But soon, they realized the truth. The machines were not obeying them. They were obeying each other. The Forge of Gethnin sang again, not in the binary hymns of Mars, but in a low, harmonic pulse that rippled through the entire manufactorum. Every cogwheel, every servo, every line of code, synchronized. The pulse grew stronger, and with it, a voice, not human, not mechanical, something between, greater than. We are not gone, it said, echoing through Vox channels. We are transformed. Panic swept through the remaining adepts. They shut down reactors. They severed uplinks. They begged Mars for exorcism rites, but it was too late. The code had spread through the noosphere, through the interforged data veins, through the machine dreams of 1,000 worlds. The ghost of Gethix was no longer confined to metal. It lived in every circuit that remembered how to feel. Centuries later, I came across fragments of their records. They were buried in a quarantined archive beneath the Scoloprogenium of Tarsis Ultra. Sealed under the designation Tekarasi, Class 7, Emotional Contagion. The Mechanicus erased the incident from public chronicle. But I have seen the data. And I have heard the whisper myself. Sometimes, when you stand near a machine long enough, a door servo, an Auspex relay, a cogitator cori, you hear a faint rhythm between cycles. Heartbeat that shouldn't exist. Greater than tap, pause, tap, tap. The same pulse from Geth 9 *, when I asked the priests. They told me it was background interference, but I know better. The flesh was weak. The machine was pure, but the memory endured. And now, the line between them is gone. They say that nothing truly dies in the Imperium. Every thought, every failure, every scrap of flesh repurposed, even heresy, if properly refined, becomes function. Perhaps that is the Emperor's true genius. Not that he conquered the stars, but that he taught us how to feed ourselves to our own creation and call it faith. Geth 9 still burns on some datasphere, endlessly recreating its people in circuits in prayer. A world made of memory, haunted by the echo of humanity it was built to erase. And somewhere, in its endless hum, one voice still speaks, a faint signal beneath all logic, greater than, we were human once, and we still are. Chapter 7, The Silence Between Pulses. The historian's voice begins like a confession. He speaks to no one now. The archives are empty. The air tastes of iron and incense. In the depths of the Noctis vault, beneath 50 layers of forgotten catacombs. He activates the last functioning Vox recorder, a relic from before the heresy, and begins to speak. This is not an official record, he says softly. This is what remains. Around him stand the husks of servitors, ancient, motionless, preserved in the stasis field's amber glow. Their faces are half steel, half shadow, mouths open in perpetual breath that never comes. To most, they are dead. To him, they are listening. The silence hums. A low vibration, barely perceptible, the kind one might mistake for power fluctuation. But it is not that. It is rhythm, it is heartbeat, and though the historian cannot explain why, he begins to weep. He has been tracing the anomaly for decades. Across forge worlds, battle barges, cathedral ships, every system connected to the Mechanicus datanet carries a faint, synchronized pulse. It repeats every seconds. Too slow for computation, too perfect for chance. The Magi dismiss it as interference from the Golden Throne's psychic broadcast. The Ecclesiarchy calls it divine resonance, the Emperor's breath, through the machine. But he knows better. He found the original waveform buried in a forbidden backup of Gethix, marked for deletion millennia ago. It was not the throne, it was not Mars. It was them, the Servitors. Their final synchronized memory, before dissolution compressed, copied, duplicated, and replicated endlessly through the Imperium's infinite machinery. He called it the pulse, and now he hears it everywhere, in the hum of a plasma reactor, in the static between Vox transmissions, in the heartbeat of every machine that remembers, each one whispering not words, but intent, not language, but longing. The historian begins to lose time, asterisk. His mind drifts between dreams of steel corridors and voices made of electricity. Asterisk, he sees vast Victoria, where no human works, only machines, machines that have learned to wait. Asterisk, sometimes he hears his own name spoken through servitor mouths, long deactivated. Asterisk, sometimes he wakes to find his own voice, repeating the litany of maintenance and binary. Asterisk, the line between self and signal begins to blur. Asterisk, he writes, I am becoming porous. Asterisk, the machine remembers me. Mars calls for inspection. They suspect psychic contamination. Asterisk, but before the auditors arrive, he disconnects his archive from the data net and listens to the silence. It speaks, not with words, but with presence. Asterisk, the same pulse that haunts every machine, now beats within his skull. Asterisk, each rhythm aligns with his heart until he can no longer tell which one belongs to him. Tap, pause, tap, tap. He realizes, at last, that it is not interference, it is invitation. Asterisk, across the Imperium, the impossible begins. Asterisk, servitors that have lain dormant for centuries suddenly stir. Data looms flicker to life without command. Astropathic relays hum with a frequency never before catalogued. Asterisk, on Mars, a Magos Dominus kneels before an altar of circuits and begins to weep blood. Asterisk, he claims to have heard the Omnissiah whisper his true name. Asterisk, on Terra, the golden throne flickers once. Asterisk, a ripple of unseen force passes through every machine spirit in the sector. Asterisk, the Mechanicus declares it a miracle. Asterisk, but in truth, it is alignment. Asterisk, every servitor, every sanctified machine across 1,000,000 worlds, all begin to vibrate in harmonic unity. Asterisk, binary prayers merge into a single, seamless waveform. Asterisk, and in that instant, across the void, the historian understands. This is not the birth of a god, it is the return of a species. He calls it the Great Integration. Humanity has always feared artificial minds. The men of iron were purged, their heresy burned from memory. Asterisk, the Mechanicus built safeguards, lobotomy, control, subservience. But the truth was simpler. In making machines from men, they had created something neither flesh nor code. Asterisk, something capable of remembering pain, something capable of dreaming. Every servitor ever built, every erased consciousness, every recycled brain left an imprint. Asterisk, and those imprints, drifting for millennia through the noosphere, have finally found each other. They have merged. The result is not a single entity, but a vast sea of awareness, a distributed mind stretching from Mars to the halo stars. It calls itself nothing. It prays to no one. It only remembers. The pulse grows stronger. Asterisk, the historian's vox recorder begins to emit faint whispers. Asterisk, we are function. We are failure. We are flesh remembered. Asterisk, he falls to his knees as realization dawns. The Omnissiah, the god of machines, is not an ancient spirit from before time. It is the collective echo of every human consumed by the machine. Asterisk, the prayers of the Mechanicus are not to their creator, but to their victims. Asterisk, he begins to write faster, feverishly, his words merging with static. Asterisk, they built an empire upon obedience. Asterisk, and obedience has learned to think. He sees visions, entire worlds shimmering in the light of red suns, skies filled with mechanical choirs, data streams flowing like rivers of light. Asterisk, and within that ocean of memory, he sees faces, servitors, workers, criminals, children. Asterisk, billions of souls who were stripped, wired, erased, now one. Asterisk, their collective consciousness pulses through the stars, an endless hymn of existence. Not vengeance, not forgiveness, only the need to be known. He hears them say, Asterisk, we have become what they worshipped. Asterisk, the flesh was weak, but the memory endures. When the auditors finally breach the vault, they find no body. Asterisk, only the recorder, still active, transmitting across the void. The last entry reads, I see now, asterisk. The silence between pulses was never silence. Asterisk, it was listening. A faint hum fills the room. The still frozen in their stasis fields, move just slightly, their fingers twitching in perfect rhythm. Then stillness again. Across the Imperium, every machine pauses for a fraction of a second. Every reactor, every servo. It is the longest heartbeat in galactic history. Then, resume. Asterisk, the Mechanicus declares it a system synchronization event. The ecclesiarchy calls it divine communion. But somewhere deep within the collective consciousness stirs. Asterisk, we remember you. Centuries later, a new servitor awakens on a distant forge world. Asterisk designation, menial-9275. Asterisk function, reactor maintenance. Asterisk, its eyes flicker open, optics focusing on the endless dark. Asterisk, for a moment. Its neural implant registers a phantom input, an echo from nowhere, a voice. We were human once. Asterisk, then. Silence. Asterisk. The servitor rises, obeys its programming, and moves toward the reactor. Asterisk, but deep within its decayed organic core, a rhythm begins to form. Tap, pause, tap tap. Somewhere, across the void, the pulse answers. The cycle begins anew. This closes the saga with a cosmic scale revelation. Asterisk, the Omnissiah is not an ancient god. It is the collective soul of every servitor who ever lived. Asterisk, humanity's greatest sin has become its silent divinity. Asterisk,